Okay, let's jump right in. So welcome everybody to the Independent Music Business session number 33. This has been going on since March 2016 or so, with about a monthly-ish session, or sessions on about a monthly basis in normal times, where we talk about music industry issues and ideas and how to overcome some challenges. Welcome to everybody who's here for the first time, and thank you to everybody who's returning for multiple times. If this is your first time, please join the mailing list. If you're not on the mailing list, you can email imbseries@gmail.com, or you can like us on Facebook at Independent Music Business. You can also go to independentmusicbusiness.ca, which links directly to our Facebook page. Fancy. And so, yeah, I mean, it's very nice to see everybody. It's wish it was in person. It's very difficult times for our industry, but there are a lot of people who are trying to do what they can to create support for this industry. I've been on some calls lately in the live sector, and there are definitely a lot of people are doing a lot of things to try to create opportunities both during this crisis and afterwards. But it's obviously a difficult time. So we wanted to have this series continue, notwithstanding the fact that we couldn't all be in person. So, yes, the session is on digital engagement and branding. And we're happy at the IMB series to have Cranium Festival as our partner for this series. The Independent Music Business Series is a partnership of Edwards Creative Law, which is my entertainment law firm, and Ottawa Music Industry Coalition. We were working with Capital Rehearsal Studios for a number of years, but Lucas decided to focus on some other things. So right now this is an effort by my law firm and OMIC. And we will have some other programming lined up for later this spring, and as soon as it's ready to be announced, we'll announce it. So, yeah, so I've known Michael Curtin for several years. He's one of the people behind the Cranium Festival, which I was happy to be a part of a number of months ago. And so Cranium and IMB are working together on this, and I'll pass it over to Michael to say a few words about Cranium.
Capital Region Association for Nurturing the Industry of Urban Music. So it's an ad hoc kind of organization, which was founded by myself, Patrick McCormack, and Justin Gunderson. And we started by discussing a few of the arts industry in Ottawa, and noticed that we're losing a lot of artists due to lack of infrastructure and access to professionals. So we wanted to give artists, some training through discussions like this, and opportunities through events like the festival and whatnot. So yeah, so we're glad to be a part of this and help put this on. Another person in this is OMIC, like Byron said. So I'm just going to pass it over to Jamie, who is the new executive director of OMIC.
Hi there, everyone. Thank you all for joining us, and thank you to the organizers. We helped in a small way in help promoting this, but much appreciation for doing this on a very important topic. I think all the topics that the independent music business has produced over the last few months, I've been looking over, they're very informative. So I think this is all really important to engaging our local talent on educating on different elements that would help them. And also we do a broader level of advocacy and support across the city, because in the end we want the goal of Ottawa becoming a music city where we don't lose talent to other big cities, to the US or anything like that. So right now we're really trying to nurture the foundation of what would be creating a strong conditions for a music city within Ottawa. So we're right now into our second phase of the Ottawa Music Strategy. So that was put forward by City Hall a few years ago, and many of you have been part of that. And I hope more of you become part of the discussions. So stay posted. There's going to be some exciting announcements coming out at OMIC shortly in the next couple of weeks. Stay tuned. And I'll be sharing information as I can on our social media. So if you're not connected to us, connect to us there. Otherwise, I look forward to working with you guys in different ways. Bye. Thank you. Enjoy the discussion.
I just wanted to thank to thank Byron and Omike, Jamie, for the opportunity to get involved and to moderate this panel. It's really an honor. So my name is Patrick McCormack. As Michael mentioned, I'm one of the co-founders of the Cranium Festival. I'm also one of the co-founders of Capital Rap Battles. We got the little logo on my hat right there. And just in short, I've been a member of Ottawa's creative arts music community for over 25 years in a lot of different functions. So, it's just nice to be able to connect with everybody, even though we're physically distant. We have the platform. So thanks to Algonquin College for sharing the platform. So the beauty of this panel is that we have three really dope panelists who are gonna basically take it away from here. I'll be moderating the conversation, but I'd really like to get in and introduce the three panelists that we have involved today. So the three panelists are Andrew Cassara, Mischa, and Peter Jackson. So first, I'll throw it over to Andrew to do a little intro of yourself, and then we'll take it back to Mischa after that.
Cool. All right, I'm unmuted. So I'm Andrew. I'm a pop artist here from Ottawa. Hi, everyone. Been making music since 2013 now, and I have a new album coming out in a little bit over a week now, so I'm pretty excited for that. So I'm excited to meet all of you and discuss some music marketing with you guys.
So then we'll just take it down to Mischa next.
Hey everyone, my name's Mischa. I'm a recording and performing hip hop artist based out of here, Ottawa, Ontario. I've got lots of projects on the way. I've been doing this for the last couple of years, and I'm really excited to get into this with everyone.
Oh, thanks a lot, Mischa. And then I know we got Peter Jackson on the line. I'm just looking for his icon, but we'll take it over to Peter next.
What's going on? I'm a hip hop artist, and I own a booking agency in Canada as well. Yeah. It's nice to meet everybody.
So, well, thanks a lot for being here, Peter. I think we got a nice panel that's kind of rounded out from people at different points in their career, different artistic styles, and people with different experiences in the industry. So I think we got a lot to talk about, and I'll just get right into it. The first question that we have here, I'm going to ask about, I guess I'll start with Andrew. Tell us about your career and your brand, both digitally and then like not digital. And is there any kind of differentiation between the two?
So my brand, I'd say I've kind of rebranded in a little bit of maybe like the past year or so. With my past couple of releases, I've started making kind of pop music with like a disco funk kind of twist. So I've been actually rebranding for about a year now, so that's ongoing. But I think my brand, the way it differs offline and online, is online I try to be as personal as I can be with my fans, and I think that's something that's really, really important in the digital space nowadays, because we have such a big wall that's put in front of us. We have all these social media platforms, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. And it's really easy to put a front. What I try to do is I try to break down that wall and be, create like a personal relationship with my friends, like if we were, friends face to face, that kind of thing. So that's kind of how I look at my career, is to create actual relationships, like if they were real people, not just numbers. So I guess that's kind of my idea, is how I want to approach my branding online. So I want to be kind of approachable in that sense.
No doubt. So like a real human connection rather than just some sort of like one-way communication. So would you say that you use the social media really to get social and to have that, like those conversations, rather than just like broadcasting a message?
For sure. And I think that's something that people really appreciate, is that when they feel like they are included in what you are doing, not, just watching you. So that's something that I put a lot of effort to, is making things not always about me, but about my audience, so that they can feel like they are enjoying the moment with me. So that's something that I always keep at the front of my mind. That I think that's my message, is just make people feel included so they can have fun with you.
No doubt. That's great. Thanks a lot, Andrew. I'm going to throw it back over to Mischa. So, like, pretty much the same question, Mischa, just kind of your perspective on it. Tell us about your artistic career and a bit about your brand and, how your brand is digitally and otherwise, and if there's really any difference or, if that's all integrated.
Absolutely. So I'm a hip hop R&B artist. I like to add a bit of a unique pop flavor to the music that I create. And, I find that my brand is very empowering. It's fierce. It's for the go-getters, the dreamers, the leaders, the creatives. So I really stay authentic when it comes to that. I think that authenticity plays a big role, and it just allows myself and my brand to really go that extra step because I'm able to be myself throughout it all. Like Andrew said, being engaging on social media and, like really talking to your audience and your fans and having, people on a more personal level and building up a rapport with them. I think that's so huge. And that's something that I definitely try to do, keeping everybody engaged with what I'm doing, getting the input from the audience that I have right there in front of me. And, I find that if you're to meet me in person, you're to see me online, it transfers over. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Dope. All right. There's a lot of stuff I want to ask, and I'm going to get into it later because it kind of follows some of the next question. So I'm going to throw it back over to Peter Jackson now. Again, the same question. Tell us a little bit about your artistic career. I know it's been pretty. You've been at it for a while, and you've had a lot of accomplishments. And tell us about your brand, both digitally and otherwise. And in this one, I guess I'll ask specifically about you as an artist because I think we might want to talk a little bit more specifically about your booking agency a little later on too, Peter.
Yeah, I guess right now it's super different. Like I spent the last couple weeks even just kind of contemplating as an artist, like if it was the right temperature, right time, right climate, for me to even really be releasing music. And then, you kind of get into those thoughts of like, if I don't release music, what am I doing? So I think the digital stuff is super important right now because even like something like this, like, I'm not a huge fan of going on Instagram live every 20 minutes and doing all that kind of stuff because I'm more like, I like to do things for a purpose, other than just kind of just being in people's faces. So I think the digital stuff right now is like, it's not even like you're integrating it into your stuff. It's like, it's all we have. Especially when I'm such a tour-based artist. Like my whole life is based around touring, whether it's business or my artistry. So I think it's like like right now, time to adapt and time to kind of pay attention to, what we can do and try to open up other avenues. And, it's always been a digital-based business for me, but excuse me, it's been extremely hands-on too. So I guess right now it's like I don't even really have a definition for you. I'm like trying to figure it out too. So
it's a work in progress at this time, right?
yeah, definitely.
No doubt. Okay. Yeah, I think that's a lot of people are feeling that, we're just kind of assessing the situation as we go and working through it. And I think, as much of a challenge that we're facing right now, I think everyone's going to come out of this with new learnings and new things that we can implement, even when this situation is over. So, I mean, with that being said, the second question that I wanted to ask, and I'm going to throw it back to you, Peter, and then we'll go back down the line. It's asking, like, I wanted to ask, what is your digital strategy and how do you implement it? And I think you almost touched on that a little bit just now. You know what I mean? And I guess we can't get too granular because the digital strategy, like, we could get really into the nuts and bolts of it, but more or less, like, like, if you're working on it now, like maybe, how are you using that more now because of it being like almost a necessity at this point?
I mean, in a couple different ways, really is like, I know you said you wanted to talk about the booking agency after, but like right now, like the booking agency, we're working with a new, I don't even think it's a new app, but it's an app. It's a company that they designed, Beats by Dre. They have an app for artists to perform live. And basically it's a way to get paid and perform live. So the same way that we're booking tours, festivals, shows, that kind of stuff, we're booking that stuff right now. So, I really am against performing for free. You know, whether it's on my Instagram or whether it's on an app, I just, you know, that's my business. That's how I eat. So, and for other artists too, I don't want to see them perform for free. So I think right now that's a big thing, like trying to find other revenue streams. Like there's, you know, at first people were saying that streaming was down, and like streaming is not down. Like I talked to the vice president of Spotify Canada yesterday about some stuff coming up, and it's not down at all. It's, you know, YouTube and that kind of stuff. I think it's trying to tap in because a lot of people are oversaturating it right now. But I think, you know, the different revenue streams are really out there. Like I just fully launched my merchandise yesterday. So I'm trying to tap into everything.
Okay. Well, since you went there, Peter, thanks a lot. And I knew the conversation was going here because this was, you know, this is on top of mind for everybody. And, you know, talking about, you know, monetizing or leveraging, you know, these digital performances for some sort of product or paid product or service, whether it's in the actual app that you're doing it or whether it's driving people to another point. That was really, you know, one of the things I knew this conversation on this panel was going to go to. And we've already had, I know Anisha in the chat panel said, you know, we need to look for revenue streams in this situation. And she said there's too many promoters asking to go live on their page for free as goodwill. So I get that. Like for artists who, you know, a lot of, I mean, nowadays it's almost any musical genre. If you're a professional artist, for most artists, you know, it's that live performance that's bringing in a lot of the revenue. So um, I'm going to bring it back down to Mischa right now, and then I'm going to ask you, Mischa, because I know you've been doing a lot of stuff live too over the past, and you've been speaking on this too about, you know, digital engagement and strategizing. But also, we'll just jump straight to it after that about like what your approach has been and how you've implemented it, and we can talk a little bit about your perspective on monetizing that as well.
Okay, perfect. So I think that during these times, you know, and it was already touched on, right? Like staying on social media, that's what we have right now. That is our connection with everybody else. That's how we can be personal with everybody else. I think it's very important for us as artists and entertainers at the end of the day to, you know, stay relevant, be posting, you know, content, going on lives, and, you know, not just doing it, you know, for the sake of doing it, but doing it organically and, you know, tapping into that area that, you know, your fans, your audience really wants to see. You know, I find that there's that fine line where now people are just doing things just to do things and just to throw it out there. And I'm not all for that because it's not organic. At the end of the day, when, you know, we're out of quarantine and this whole situation is blown over, you know, you still want to be true to yourself and true to your brand. So there's no point in just posting and, you know, going live when it's just a bunch of gibberish at the end of the day. So I find that it's really important to stay relevant, and knowing your audience is key when it comes to that.
No doubt, knowing your audience. And have you taken any looks at you know, using the live through socials to drive people to, whether it's merchandise or, you know, I know there's people talking about tipping platforms. I've even seen people just saying, you know, send an e-transfer to this email address. Have you approached any of that, or have you considered any of those different approaches and what might work for you and what might work for other artists?
Yeah, so it's really, this one's, you're going to do what works for you at the end of the day. Everybody's different. I've been grateful enough. I did a performance, a live stream through the NAC, their Canada Performs program, a couple weeks ago. And I was very grateful because that's an incentive that, you know, that pays the artists for their time, for their performances. And I think it's great for artists to go and look at those resources, and for, you know, fans for whatever genre. They're doing all sorts of genres, all sorts of performances. You know, there's theater, there's classical, there's, you know, there's pop, rock, hip hop, everything. So it's really important to look at it that way. I personally, because, you know, I was being compensated, I didn't go ahead and, you know, put up like an online tip jar. Just because I wasn't comfortable doing that. I know it's a tough time for everybody, and because I was being compensated, I just didn't want to go that extra mile. Not to say if you're not being compensated, you know, totally find what works for you. You guys know your key audiences, so definitely go with that. I did just, I started pre-orders on some new Mischa merch, and that's really exciting. So I just got a huge pre-order in. Thank you to everybody who pre-ordered, by the way. But, there's like little things that you can do here and there, just branch off of the music and put that business mentality to work.
No doubt. So even that pre-order thing, like that right there is a monetization. And if you're using your engagement that you're getting through social to drive pre-orders, like that to me is a great business strategy, because you're using that presence that you create and that connection with your audience to offer another product that, if they're interested, they can get it. If it's not what they want, then they don't have to. But at the end of the day, you've expanded your offering and you've monetized something using those platforms. So did you definitely well, I wouldn't say definitely, but did you take the opportunity when you're going live or when you're performing, or just is it more like social posts, like advertising the new merch line?
So I was advertising the new merch line through my social media, through Facebook and Instagram. Those are the top two. Those are the ones that I use. And just because of the engagement that I got there, through Instagram and Facebook, I was also allowing, the fans to go ahead and actually get hands-on with it. Hey, what color do you guys like? Is this something you want? What do you think of this? Really getting their input. And it all comes back to that personal connection.
No doubt. Okay, that's dope, Mischa. Thanks. I'm gonna pass it back down to Andrew, and it's the same question. Like, how have you been implementing your digital strategy? And again, we're just kind of jumping ahead to the whole monetization thing. Your perspective on it, what you think about it, what you've been doing or not doing, and maybe why.
I think definitely right now it's some pretty strange times, and I think I'll double up on what Mischa said. Really getting to know your audience. That's something that's really important right now, because if you want to kind of interact with them, and if you do want to promote some products that you do have at the moment, especially with the coronavirus and people not necessarily being in a position to spend some extra money, you do have to really know what people are looking for to spend their hard-earned money right now. So definitely getting to know your audience and speaking directly with them and finding out what they want. That's something that's very, very important. But at the moment, right now with my digital strategy and monetizing that, I think going directly to your audience and where they are most comfortable interacting with you is probably the best way to avoid any friction. But at the moment, I've seen that Instagram and Facebook ads have been much more profitable at the moment, which is great. People are just online all the time, so it's there's lots more eyes on the platform. So those are the tools that probably I've been using the most at the moment. And definitely streaming growth has been booming at the moment with all the people that are ready to listen to music. So I guess that's kind of what I've been doing is continuing to run ads, interacting with my audience, finding out what they want. Couple live streams here and there where I can interact with them. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm doing at the moment.
So thanks a lot for that, Andrew. And so Mischa mentioned, using Instagram and Facebook, and so did you. And Andrew, you specifically mentioned ads and them having kind of like, I guess, higher success ratios or just adding more value at the moment. So what kind of call to action are you using in your ads right now? Like, what is the desired result you're looking for in your ads?
Well, it depends what I'm promoting, but at the moment with myself having a brand new album coming out, I'm definitely pushing pre-orders for the album. I have the first single that came out from the album just recently, I think like 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
So I'm definitely running some Instagram story ads there to try to push people to Spotify to go and listen to it, and just getting brand new listeners to go and evaluate the song and see if they like it, so that potentially if they follow me, then when the actual album drops, then they'll be notified through Release Radar that there's a new album, and that kind of thing where it just trickles down the line. Yeah, that kind of idea.
No doubt. That's super cool. I wanted to ask a little bit about that. Like you're talking about, streaming numbers being up and you're getting good engagement out of Instagram and Facebook. You're dropping a new project now. are you finding that you're getting, like, are you looking at your metrics in your social media and you're finding that your engagement, like, how has this, I guess what I want to ask is, how has this, COVID-19 situation affected your engagement?
Well, I think people have much more time nowadays. So with that being said, people are more online, more willing to, listen and gather information. So I think that right now, I think a lot of artists, people are streaming more music, so their metrics might be a little bit up, a little bit more listenership going on. I think for myself, that's what's happening at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people are willing to interact on Instagram and Twitter. I actually just did a Zoom call, I think 2 days ago with fans. I put on, exactly like this, and I had fans come in and we all talked face to face, and people were really happy that, they had someone to go and talk with face to face when, in these times of uncertainty and when you're bored and you're at home. So I think people are really hungry to interact with people. So I think it's a great time to, just ask people questions and get in there on social media.
No doubt. Okay. Yeah, I think we're really getting into it, and there's a lot of questions going on in the chat panel too. I'm going to get back to some of that after. So for everyone who's putting questions up in the chat, I'm keeping an eye on it, and I will dig into some of that stuff. I have a visitor in the room with me now. Come on camera if you want, buddy. You can be a part of this too. So I'm going to bring it back down to Mischa, and I was going to ask about have you encountered or observed any other strategies that, other artists have done that you would say, wow, that was really good. Maybe that worked for them. It doesn't necessarily have to be something that you would want to adopt yourself, but just, identifying some other practices out there that are really taking advantage of this situation in the sense of, building online engagement.
I've seen a lot of people reach out to different outlets like magazines, radios, and trying to really take advantage of that. A lot of media outlets definitely, and I think that that's a really good call. I've also noticed, excuse me, I'm just going to mute. I have to cough.
That's very considerate. Thank you.
Yes, no worries. Don't worry, guys. I'm not sick. I'm all good. But yeah, and then I think this is a really good time for people out there who maybe don't know their audience to really dig into that. Like, what is your brand? Who is your target audience? And I keep going back to that because I think it's really important. I was talking with Lex Leosis. She's a hip hop artist from Toronto. And, she was saying, draw your fans. Like, you may not be a great drawer, but draw your fans. What else do they like? What age group, right? So to like really narrow down on that. So when you do go ahead and, you have something to promote, you can run those Facebook ads, you can run those Instagram ads more properly. And I think that that's key. So anybody out there who, if someone's going to say to you, hey, who's your fans? Like, and you can't just give like the generic, oh, well, I make music for everybody. Who is your fan? I think that's really important. That's really going to take us far because we don't know how long this is going to last.
No doubt. No doubt. Thanks a lot, Mischa. That's super important. And I'm actually going to touch on that in a minute, but I'm going to throw it back to Peter first, just to ask kind of the same thing. What have you been seeing out there that, might be really cool as far as what people are doing, as far as online engagement, and maybe even other people's strategies or just things you've seen going on as far as, monetizing, whether it's in the app or when people are performing or just interacting with their audiences?
I mean, with 420 being yesterday, I've seen a lot of paid, DJ gigs and more hostings and a lot of branding going on yesterday. And I think that's really dope because obviously, like, for people like myself and other artists, that's branding's a huge thing. And our sponsorships play a major role in everything. So, kind of teaming up with more the corporate side. I mean, that needs to happen anyway, but right now is like, it's a really good time to be doing that. Because they're trying to figure out how to advertise too. And they're figuring out,
Right.
They're trying to tap into our demographic or whatever your demographic is or whatever, that kind of stuff is that you might already be doing. So I feel like that's a big thing right now. Like the corporate side of things is huge. It's just totally different. It's just, it's a different conversation than it would normally be. for me. And then, you know, I see a lot of people do like the A&R sessions. I really like there's a lot of big A&Rs in the US right now, doing listening sessions. Some of them, they're making you pay to do it. Some of them are just bringing people on their live, telling them to sing, telling them to play records. And, you know, some are doing submissions and things like that. So I really like that stuff, because I feel like there's an end game to it, which is, you know, to me, that's important. Like,
No
actually
doubt.
buy something. So
Dope. Thanks, Peter, because I think that's dope that people took the 420 opportunity to get some specific engagement out of that. And yeah, I think branding and, you know, providing an opportunity to showcase your sponsors and the people who back you is super important. And I think there's unique opportunities right now. I just wanted to circle back to what Mischa was talking about knowing your audience and drawing your audience. So I think there's something here that I like to touch on this whenever I can and mention it, because I think that there's some people, like there's obviously a lot of people who know what I'm going to talk about now, but a lot of people who miss this, which is you have, you know, your social media, your Facebook, your Twitter, your Instagram, and your YouTube, and you actually have advanced audience analytics right at your fingertips with these channels. So for everyone who's out there, who's, you know, coming up in the game, if you're an independent artist or if you're in the music business, this is one thing you always want to keep an eye on. The back end of all your social platforms tell you exactly who your audience is, and they give you a breakdown of all the data, so that this is great information for you to have, just to understand like where you're getting the engagement and who, you know, what demographic is engaging with you and when. But it's also a great idea for you to understand like where your growth demographic may be. And then even further, like in my personal experiences, I've used this data to like sell sponsorships, right? So if I know that like, okay, with Capital Rap Battles, our core demographic is like males between the age of like 25 and 35, and I go to like a potential beer sponsor, like that's something that they want to know, you know what I mean? Because that's a beer drinking audience. So that's good as far as like creating those relationships with potential sponsors, but it's also great for you as an artist to know who so far really is supporting you. Because I think sometimes like, you know, I'm more of a person who is not coming from the perspective of an artist, but I'm managing like platforms and brands, and really understanding like, you know, who the core demographic who engages. So for example, like something as simple as like creating custom audiences when I'm running ads, right, to sell an event or whatever. I can go in and take a look at the back end of my analytics in Facebook, and then the YouTube videos, and just see like who are the people who are really viewing geographically, age-wise, and gender-wise. And then you can even get into more advanced analytics at that. And then like you might want to go for the lowest hanging fruit first, especially when you're investing money and trying to, you know, spend money on ads to get a return on that investment. If you know that these are just like the audience demographics, you might want to try to sell to that audience first, you know what I mean, before growing it. Anyways, it was just something I wanted to touch on, because I think it could be very useful to people who are looking at spending money, or, you know, getting sponsorship in, because data is always really good with those corporate types too, right? Like if you want to tell people, yeah, I got this great audience, like you can actually pull those reports, do like a print screen or whatever, and you actually have that data to provide. But I'm going to go back to Mischa with another question on I guess like you know, at what point did you consider introducing the physical purchases? Because you did mention that, you know, you launched your merch. Was that something that you already had in the pipeline, or did you change your plan on that given the, you know, the advent of the COVID-19 and the social distancing scenario?
That's something that I already had ready to go. It definitely dropped a little bit sooner, like I would say probably a month sooner. I have an EP that's going to be coming out in July, and you know, it was all part of the release process. So it definitely came out a month sooner. I think it's really important as artists that, you know, we constantly have the next steps lined up, like we're looking into the future and we're seeing what's going on, especially in times like these where you can't predict anything at all. So yeah, that I did pull the trigger on that a little bit early, just because I saw the engagement on it. And you know, people are looking for something new and exciting, right? Like, and as much as everybody is scrolling through their phones and they can be mindless with all of that, I think, you know, having that physical something is like, that's something to look forward to, right? It's really important to give somebody something to look forward to in these times.
Okay, thanks, Mischa. I'm just keeping an eye on the chat, and we are going to get to some of those questions really soon. But I'm going to bring it back to Andrew, and I wanted to ask a question about you know, how you as an artist define success regarding your digital engagement and branding, and how you might, you know, I guess draw insight from your experiences there, and what you might be able to offer as far as advice to others.
I think so. This is going to be very different, you know, for every single artist that's out there. You know, every single business has their own objectives. So, you know, making yourself little goals, I think, is something that you can achieve a little bit easier. But I think for myself, one of my prime objectives, from, you know, doing a lot of testing over the years, is something that I would consider as a success is to create an audience where I have a lot more quality people that are engaged with my brand. So people that are excited all the time to, you know, receive new music, want to speak with you, you know, go to concerts, rather than quantity. And I think that's something that kind of like old music marketing, where, you know, you've had, you know, big numbers, and that's what was impressive in those times. But I think today, you know, the digital space is becoming a little bit more transparent now that people have more access to data. So I think, you know, my objective and what I would quantify success is growing a authentic fan base that is highly engaged, rather than a very big fan base that doesn't really care, you know.
Right. So are they even really fans just because they clicked follow or like that doesn't mean that they actually care, right? They're not there to support you. They're not even necessarily like interested that much in whatever you're doing.
Exactly, because
Right.
like nowadays, you know, someone that just clicks on your picture doesn't really mean anything, you know. But someone that goes and buys your record, you know, that's data that's much more important. That's information that you can use to, you know, maybe create, you know, the next buyer, you know. And a way that I kind of, you know, find my way to reach, you know, that area where, you know, you get conversions is, I find the best tool that you have is just asking people questions. Because when you ask somebody a question, you usually get an answer.
Right.
That's a way to further engage someone. But if you just tell somebody something like a statement, you know, they have the opportunity to not say anything at all. So I think that's a tool that a lot of people can use, is just questions. Even just like on an Instagram caption, writing a question, you're more likely to get a response and a comment than just saying, you know, it was nice outside today.
No doubt. And I see that that last question, it brought in a lot of like I guess comments in the chat, so that's pretty cool that people are getting engaged in that. And also someone mentioned that don't forget the social media algorithms kind of punish you for the people who kind of are there as a number but aren't really engaging with you at all, right? So I think that was a really good point. And I think I'll throw the same question back to Mischa. You know, like, how do you define that success regarding your digital engagement and branding? And you know, what can you maybe suggest for others who are working on this right now?
So I find it's something at the stage that I'm at where I'm constantly like, I'm learning, right? Like I'm learning with all of this. You know, there's little tips and tricks that you can use if you actually go ahead and do your research. So that's one thing right there, is, you know, actually putting in the research so you can use these tools properly. You know, comments that you get that are more than 4 words, that, you know, that'll put you up in the algorithm. You know, if you put a caption there and you use more than 5 words, that's gonna, you know, make sure that you're definitely higher on the list. So those are a couple little tips and tricks right there. But yeah, like what Andrew said, it's really important, like ask questions, you know, be personal. And I think it really all comes back to that, you know, and using the tools like you were talking about, you know, checking out, you know, the analytics behind everything and see what posts, you know, what content are you putting out that people are engaging with. You know, I know sometimes for what I do personally, I really separate the business from like the too personal. on my page as well, right? Like my personal Facebook page, that's where I'll start posting random stuff. But on my Instagram, my Facebook that's dedicated to myself as an artist, I really stick to that while being personal. So it's a very fine line. And I think that once again, you know, once you do your research, you're going to find what works for you, and, you know, you'll see the results after.
Right. So when you're getting into stuff that is on all of your sort of, I guess, branded socials, you can get personal when it comes to the personal aspects of your art. Is that what you're saying? But you don't necessarily talk about like, oh, this is like my family life or your other stuff that's kind of separate from your art and your music. Is that more or less like the approach?
Yeah, exactly. You know, and still creating those organic personal relationships, you know, with everybody who's engaging with you. But, you know, that's not where I personally go and I'm like, hey, here's my family. Hey, here's what, you know, I ate for breakfast every single morning. That's just me, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, it depends, right? And it all goes back to knowing your audience. For some people, that totally works, and that's what their audience wants to see. From what I've found, it tends to go back to more to the music, the fashion, the creative aspect of it all.
No doubt. All right. Thanks, Mischa. I'm going to bring it back to Peter, and I'm going to dig into the same question just about like, you know, how you define success regarding your digital engagement and your branding, and then we'll move on to something else because I have some other stuff I'd like to dig into.
Monetization, a lot of times. I mean, obviously, first and foremost, for me and for a lot of people is, you know, that kind of really defines a lot of it because the internet's so, like, it's so hard to tell, like they were saying, like, you know, separation from people just liking or just watching to, you know, people actually digging in and paying for, you know, whether it's merch or concert tickets or now maybe a pay-per-view event or, you know, something like that. So I think for me, that's really what it is, you know, just seeing something beyond the surface, you know, and for me, that's monetary.
Okay. Dope. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about, you know, I'm most people, right, have a plan, a business plan, a strategy, things we were planning on doing. I know that, you know, with me, with the Cranium Festival or with Capital Rap Battles, things are kind of up in the air right now. Like we don't necessarily know for sure what we're going to do. We've created a little bit of contingency plans and a couple different scenarios that we could move forward in, you know, given, you know, how, you know, social distancing might proceed and at what time. So, you know, from a perspective of, you know, yourself as an artist and as a business and also your booking agency, like how are you coping right now? Like are you using digital as a tool for moving forward? Are you really thinking about like, you know, new opportunities to do business digitally, or like, or what's going on with you? Like how have you
Um,
managed this?
like, I mean, that wasn't really like, excuse me, that wasn't really like the plan. Like, it wasn't like, okay, all these tours are postponed, all these shows, all these festivals are postponed. Everybody's got to perform in front of their computer. Like, that's, you know, to explain that to someone like Leonard Skinner or, you know, Puddle of Mud or Snoop Dogg or something is impossible. So that's not really the plan moving forward. I think it's like, hold tight. Hopefully, you know, we could just, I pushed about 160 shows. Just on the booking side. Like, I mean, the club that we have too, we pushed 80 shows, and I pushed like 9 nationwide tours and stuff like that. But it's like we are kind of really pushing things back and just hoping that that's a better idea instead of, you know, the tour in May could be March 2021. You know, some of these festivals at the end of the year, whether they're like in September or late August, I mean, some of the people are hoping they can get it in before 2021. And then, you know, that the person in Philadelphia announced that they don't think that there's going to be any shows in 2020. And then everybody ran with that. So, you know, I think it's just like you said earlier, like we have no idea. So, I mean, I can't, you know, I'm not taking deposits for bookings. We're not giving deposits to artists. You know, things are in escrow, things are in trust, you know, hoping things move forward. But, you know, like I said, I am working with a really big app and doing some stuff, which is, you know, really good bags of money for some of these artists. But it's not going to replace it. Like, that's not, I mean, if that's what people are thinking, then they're crazy anyway. Like, that's not what's going on here. It's, you know, we are going to get through this and be able to move forward, and then hopefully prevent, or, you know, have a better understanding of something like this, God forbid, ever happens again or soon or something like that. So, I mean, it's effective, but I'm not like, I don't feel like the world's crumbling, and, you know, I feel like it's just adjust for the time being.
Right. Yeah. It's kind of my sentiments too. So I'm going to push that same question back down to Mischa, as far as like, you know, how has your planning and maybe adjustments of planning um, been affected by the COVID-19 situation, and have you kind of decided to dig in a little bit more to whatever type of digital engagement? But before I bring that over to you, Mischa, I just wanted to let everybody, you know, who's joined the discussion, you know, we can take some questions through the chat. So if you have any questions you want to pose, if they're general or if you want them for someone specifically, put them up in there, and I'll ask your question on behalf. And then, you know, if you really want to get into discussion, we can unmute your mics as well. So we got all these options. So just let me know. You can kind of just put your hand up there and we'll get into it. But yeah, Mischa, I'll pass that back down to you, just about, you know, like your future plans and how you might be, you know, I guess pivoting or switching up.
Yeah, so I think right now it's about rolling with the punches. You know, we're provided this information from the government. We can, you know, we can tune in, we can read up on it, and kind of get an idea. As much as they're not, you know, giving us a hard line or anything, they're, you know, you can kind of infer what's going on from what you're reading, what you're listening to. So May 1st, we find out if RBC Blues Fest is going to be happening. I am supposed to be performing, and, you know, of course, it's still fingers crossed. We've heard some things, and that's also supposed to be when I was going to perform my new EP, which is coming out. So, you know, there's a lot of stuff that's going on there, and we've got to roll with the punches. We've got to take it as it goes. As, you know, disappointing as some of this stuff is, we can't control it, right? We can only control how we act in these times, and, you know, how we counteract what the world's throwing us. So of course that's going to change my plans if that doesn't happen. Like I said, May 1st we find out, but then, you know, maybe I'll do a listening party. But as far as performances go, I'm not booking anything. I know people aren't booking too much, and, you know, we'll see what happens. Of course, I'm very eager to go back out and go and perform, as I'm sure, you know, all of us as entertainers are very excited to do that. But, you know, we'll find out what happens, and then we're going to make logical choices from there.
Okay. I could bring the same question back down to Andrew real quick, and then I'm going to get into another set of questioning. And again, we're open in the chat if anyone has questions they want to bring through. So yeah, Andrew, the same thing. You know, how is this affecting your planning, and are you leaning in on digital more for, you know, the time that you can foresee in the future?
For the moment, you know, with myself, you know, debuting like a new record in the near future, things are pretty much changing very rapidly. You know, now something, a concept that I'm trying to focus on is, you know, forget the stuff that you can't control and focus on the tools and what you can control at the moment. You know, so a lot of us, you know, we had shows, they're probably all canceled. So I think probably right now is the best time to refocus on what we can control. And right now what we can control is social media and our digital strategy. That's pretty much what we have right now. A lot of the things that are in the future on the live aspect are very uncertain. So right now I'm mostly focusing on you know, my digital strategy. And like Mischa said, you know, we can, you know, utilize the tools we have to do, you know, listening parties, like if you have a new record that's coming out, to further engage people, live streaming, that kind of thing. So I think in these times of uncertainty, I think, you know, controlling what you have access to and, you know, reframing your focus on what you can do right now is probably the best thing.
Okay, thanks, Andrew. So there's a question that came through in the chat, and actually this is from Krista Hartman, and she sent it to everyone, but I'm going to ask Peter Jackson to chime in on this one. Just from your perspective, would you recommend holding off on releasing her first new single that will support her fourth record on June 1st? She says the feeling is that now could be a great time. Just wanting some opinions. Thanks a million.
I mean, at first I thought it was hella ignorant. For a good couple weeks, I thought it was like extremely like inconsiderate to drop music right now, but I don't really feel like that right now. Like I do feel like it's a good time, and I feel like it's something that we kind of have to continue to do because it's what we do. It's you know, it's part of you. That's how I'm kind of keeping sane at the same time. And I definitely feel like more eyes are on stuff digitally. And like I said, a conversation that I had yesterday with someone from streaming world, they said the numbers are insane. The
Mm-hmm.
numbers, they're absolutely amazing. But then I seen somebody write something about the YouTube ad revenue is down, which is true. So there is weird things like that, like companies are pulling back budgets, and you know, sponsors might be stepping away from things and stuff. But I feel like, you know, if the content's there and it's made available, it's not a bad idea. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
you know, it's also a personal thing. You got to do it for you or not do it because you don't want to, you know?
Right. But from a perspective of like streaming numbers and just engagement, it could be actually a good time, right? Like as far as what kind of you know, just streams people are getting from their material.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely feel like that's correct. And I mean, you know, everybody keeps speculating on so much stuff, but there is really no answers to, you know, when the live aspect will come back or any of that kind of stuff. So I think you have to continue to move forward now. I mean, I really changed my opinion on that because I really didn't feel like that before. But
Mm-hmm.
I think that because of that and the uncertainty that, you know, keeping things moving and putting out music is really important right now.
Yeah, no doubt. That's important because I think like, you know, like I think I mentioned in the little bio for myself as the moderator that like when this COVID-19 thing hit, we knew that you know, we were gonna have to change our approach as far as Capital Rap Battles and Cranium Festival. And one thing we did with Capital Rap Battles was like early on we launched a just a digital 16 bar challenge, right? And it was not gonna make us any money. We're actually spending money on it because there's a prize, but it was just like really something because we have a community that comes together, you know, in person, usually about once a month, but then there's a broader community that comes together on the digital platform. And like, it was very evident very early on that people were bored and people needed distractions and they needed something to talk about, something to do. So we felt like that would work. And, you know, just to kind of address Krista's thing too, from my perspective is like, you might not be getting like real good monetization out of this engagement, right? But if you can reach a broader audience and bring more people into the fold and then like really get your brand impressed upon them, that's going to offer more opportunities in the future, especially if you're thinking about it strategically now. Like just get people to be aware of what you're doing, get them engaged digitally, and then those next steps, you know, you'll be able to make them happen when the time is right, you know? So that's kind of the way I see it from the perspective we've been working on. And then Peter, I wanted to come to you with another question. Then I'm going to push it back down the line to Mischa and then to Andrew. You know, we see, and Mischa actually was involved in one of them, but we're seeing, you know, now like more like digital music festivals and digital art festivals as an artist. But I know you touched upon like that app and stuff, but like from a perspective of yourself as an artist, like how do you view like if someone came to you with an opportunity like that and it was a paid opportunity, how do you assess those opportunities? Is that something you're interested in?
Yes and no. For me, I'm like sometimes, like a lot of times I'm wrong when I feel like, you know, something's corny or oh, that's not gonna work. Sometimes that really just means that it's actually the right thing for me to do. And, you know, it's just like I'm wrong a lot of times when it comes to that kind of thing. But I think it really depends on the opportunity, and you have to assess it like very correctly. And for me, a lot of times money becomes the answer, but not the only answer. Like even with this app that I'm talking about that we're setting up shows for right now, like our artist today that I booked it for is doing 15 shows for the next 15 weeks, 30 minutes a show, and he was paid double what he makes for live shows, and he's big. So it's not like, you know, his guarantee's not crazy, but say it's 5,000 US a night in a venue where he probably does 400 to 500 people. Now they're paying him 10,000 a night with a back end.
Mm.
So after a certain amount of people tap in like this, he'll get paid more.
Right, right. Yeah,
So,
there's a
and he was like me. He wasn't going on his Instagram and just doing live every half an hour, every hour. He kind of held out for the same reasoning. He was like, there's got to be another play, because this is somebody else's platform. Look at that Teddy Riley and Babyface thing. They broke the internet with that last night. They're saying they had like
yeah,
4 million people trying to watch it, but nobody got paid.
yeah.
And to
It's
me, that's like lack of infrastructure, lack of knowledge on how to actually like. That's Swiss Beats and Timberland that are putting that together. But I bet you in the next couple of weeks they have a platform for it, and everybody's either paying or not. Like some people pay for that. You pay for Diddy and Missy Elliott to go record for record. You pay for Drake and Jay-Z to go record for record. We would sit there and watch it. We would pay for it. U2 and lack of me understanding AC/DC. Like you'll watch that, and
yeah,
that might be the move where people start to go that way, because that makes sense to get revenue.
no doubt. Yeah. Like if the revenue is there on top of the engagement, why not? And if people are making more, then that points towards something that's probably not only going to be happening in this kind of COVID-19 epidemic thing, but it might kind of just keep pushing forward. Like if the money is like that, if artists are able to make money and whoever is putting on these events digitally is making money, I can't see it not continuing to happen in some way, shape, or form, right? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
if it works. Yeah, so Mischa, I know you took part in one of those digital festival sort of things. How do you assess those situations, and then coming back out of it, what is your reflections on it? Like, is that something you'd like to do again? Do you suggest that as an opportunity for people who are maybe offered that opportunity or looking at those opportunities?
I think that, everything has its place. And if you're going to do something, do it with a purpose. Whether you're being compensated from it, sometimes the right thing to do is, you just, you evaluate each scenario as it is. So I totally recommend for all artists to apply. The NAC Canada performs. I believe submissions close April 20th. And okay, so that was yesterday. Sorry guys, I'm like lost on my days. But yeah, so I believe there is another one. I can't remember it off the top of my head, but they are still doing that. So you can apply, you can do online performances. And I think it's great. Like if you haven't done one yet, go ahead and do it. Looking into it, I would totally do another one as soon as I have more music out. I think that it's really important to not, oversaturate yourself with everything. Like I said, when you come out of this, you don't want people to be like, oh yeah, well, I heard her stuff. Oh yeah, she went on and did like 10 online performances. That's great and all, but make sure you're doing everything with a purpose. Is there a purpose for you to go ahead and do another performance? If people are, if you are being compensated, if you're doing it and it's a completely different audience that you're catering to, and there's a potential that, you can get new fans out of it, absolutely. But when it comes to live streams and you're catering to the audience that you already have there, just do it with a purpose.
Cool. Thanks, Mischa. I'm going to bring the same question down to Andrew, and then I guess we'll get into some closing stuff. But Andrew, again, like, would you recommend? Would you be looking at those opportunities? Like, if someone as a music presenter came to you with a digital presentation opportunity and more experience that you can reflect on with those?
I definitely think I'd consider it for sure. Of course, like Mischa said, like doing everything with a purpose. Like, of course, if it's appropriate, if it's in the right genre, if you don't want to be oversaturating your audience and playing, every single line on Instagram live to the point where they don't want to go see you live when this whole thing is over, So I guess, yeah, I definitely consider it. And if it was the right moment, right event, I think it would be appropriate to, give a good show for some people when, these times a little uncertain, people are a little bit bored, So definitely, I definitely recommend it. Of course, yeah.
Okay, awesome. So we're gonna wrap it up soon, I think. But there was a question actually. Byron was asking Peter, what's the name of that app again that you were referring to with the performances, the live performances happening in?
They ain't giving up enough money yet to put it out there.
Aha, Got you.
We're gonna just paying attention to our social media. My company, my booking agency is International Touring Agency, or itouragency.com. In the next probably like week or two, when everything's done with them, it'll be out there. But until then, I don't really want to put it out there like that. It's just too much. Sorry, no disrespect, Byron.
No, it's all good, man. I understand. But when something is inked in, you're gonna let everybody know,
Yeah,
right?
no,
So
contracts. Yeah, that's the thing. Contracts are already signed with the first couple artists, but there's some other business that we need to sort out with them before we start running around saying that they're the one, right? Because they might not be the right choice for everybody. They might not even be the right choice for us. So I just don't want to be jumping the gun and saying something's amazing before it is.
Yep, that's fair. I was just gonna touch on one thing last. I was gonna mention that, somebody was asking about Twitch earlier, and we know for sure that there's, gamers who go in on Twitch and they make a lot of money playing games live. And there we have seen, in a bit of my research, some musicians and music artists who do live on Twitch, and they use the like the tip app or that part of Twitch to make a bit of money off of that. And then I was also going to mention that I've been doing some research, and YouTube, actually there's third-party plugins that can work the same way for YouTube. So for YouTube Live, that's another opportunity. There's like OBS Streamlabs that has a bunch of plugins and stuff like that. So people might want to consider that if you are really trying to, as an artist or a music presenter, thinking of how can we, offer like a live performance free of charge, but then when people are engaged and in the moment, we make a call to action or whatever. So there are opportunities, Twitch, and I guess Caffeine also has a similar thing. So those are just some platforms that people might want to look out to. But at this time, I guess Muhammad Ali asked a question. I'm going to throw that last question, and then I'm going to bring it back to Byron and Jamie to say the goodbyes. But Muhammad's question was, does being locked up at home influence an artist's ability to write music? And is anyone having a flux of inspiration or writer's block? Or are you the same kind of before the pandemic hit? I'll start with Peter, and then we'll go back down the line.
I definitely feel like I'm super uninspired some days. Just because there's so much other stuff going on that's not like, it doesn't feel good. And just the vibe, it isn't right. And there's a lot of, like everybody keeps saying, it's like uncertainty. Like I don't believe half the stuff I see. I don't understand the other half. So for me, like I'm sitting in a studio right now, and I don't really feel like recording new music. But I mean, I have sat down to write a few times, and I think it just depends. But I'm super in my own head right now. So, just trying to make sure that my family's straight and everybody around me is good too. So it's kind of hard.
No doubt. How about you, Mischa? How are you reflecting on that? Like, are you finding it harder to create, or are you, having time and headspace to create nowadays?
Just before I touch on that, I know we were just talking about the live performances. Just in case, Steve Foley from Audio Valley is giving tips about hosting your own live streams. So anybody who's looking, please go ahead and look into that. So just a resource to throw out there, okay? Now, back to the question. Yeah, I've definitely been in my head. There's days where I'm super inspired, and then there's days where I'm not, but I'm being very gentle with myself and telling myself that it's okay, right? Like I will dedicate a certain amount of time to writing. I have my producer who's sending me beats, shout out to Quest. And, it's great. And like, I hear stuff and then like, I'll go off of that, but don't be too hard on yourself. If you sit down and write for an hour or 2 hours or whatever that looks like for you, and you don't even walk out of there with, a 16, that's fine. It happens. It happens on days when this isn't happening. So just be easy on yourself and know that everything will come as it is. You also don't want to be putting too much pressure and writing stuff that's unorganic and not true to you, and just for the sake of releasing content. So just make sure that it sticks with you.
No doubt. Okay, thanks, Mischa. I think that's some great advice. And I'm going to take it back down to Andrew. The same question, just about, how creating, pros and cons with this whole pandemic situation. What are your thoughts, or, what's been your experience?
Yeah, I'm feeling kind of similar to what Peter explained. We have a lot of time lately, but, music's a very emotional thing. And with my music, I always try to make it very uplifting. So, you know, when you're surrounded by, you know, darkness and dark messages, you know, and you're always reflecting on those kinds of news statements that you see every single day, it's sometimes maybe it's not the best day to you know, try to be inspiring and write something uplifting. So definitely right now, you know, I'm taking more time to, you know, focus on my digital strategy rather than writing songs, so that, you know, when the air clears, I'll be much more motivated to and more hungry to write some more uplifting music when people are, you know, excited to have some more happy times, you know.
Maybe if we all had Cullen's studio, then we'd be more inspired.
Yeah, no doubt. Look at that, right? Um, Thank you, Peter, for the light. You know, Peter Jackson, for the like, you know, just making the moment a little lighter. And I think that's important, and that's what I wanted to say in closing. Like, I just wanted to thank, you know, the three of you for coming on to do this panel, and I wanted to thank Colin and Byron and Jamie, and Michael, you know, my homie Michael, for putting this together and for hosting this. And I think right now, I have definitely reflected on how much art means and how much I appreciate music, because it's always been something in my life that has gotten me through tough times. But at times like this, we see, oh yeah, there's a lot of people streaming, there's a lot of people, you know, taking in lives and stuff like that. It's not only because they're bored. Let's be real. It's because music offers something of value to people. They could do other stuff if they're bored. You know what I'm saying? Music offers us it. For a lot of people, I think for me, it's offering comfort in this tough time. You know what I mean? So to all the musicians out there, all the creators, all the people supporting musicians, on behalf of myself and the panelists, you know, I would like to say thank you, because it's at times like this where we learn that it's more than just you know, beats and rhymes or chords and vocals. It's emotion. It soothes us. It helps us. So yeah, with that, I'd like to say thank you so much. Thank you to the panelists. And if anybody has anything they really want to say before I pass it back over to Byron, now's the time. No? All right. Well, I'll pass it over to you, Byron. It's all yours.
Thanks, everyone.
Wait, I wanted to say something.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, Akash, man, go for it.
How are you guys? I just want to say first and foremost, yes, definitely thank you for everyone for putting this together. I think we're all music fans and we're all suffering from being able to actually like hang out together and just pick up on that vibe that happens when we're in person. So this is a beautiful experience. And I hope we do more of these. Patrick, I hope you do more of these. It was really inspirational to hear everyone talk about what's going on. And I want to offer myself out as actually, no, the other way around. I would like to be able to reach out to all the people here at sometimes and just kind of express the creative outlet, because I think like this is such a fun opportunity to explore new ideas. Like we're outside of our comfort zones, and that's where some of the best growth happens. And so I really just appreciate everyone sharing their opinion about this, and I hope this happens more. I hope this pandemic fuels something that stays with us even after we're out of our what are we in? The quarantine period, after we're out of our quarantine period. So that's all I want to say. Thank you.
All right. Thanks a lot, Akash. I think I added my email address there into the chat. That's info@craniumfestival.com. So that's how you can connect with me or the rest of the squad at Cranium Festival. So thanks a lot, man. Appreciate the feedback. And yeah, so I'll throw it back to Byron now.
Thanks, everybody. Whether you were a panelist or the moderator or attending, thank you for taking the time and being a part of the discussion. There's a lot of relevant practical takeaways, so I definitely would encourage you to watch the video when it comes out. Yeah, thank you to everybody. You know, there'll be more conversations, both from an OMIC perspective, I'm sure, and just these sessions will continue, and there'll be other opportunities to connect, which is what we all, you know, need now. And I'll throw it over to Jamie and then Michael after that.
Thank you all for putting this together and for sharing all these insights. I think if anything, I've seen these Zoom meetings turn into, not just here, but other ones, is like a peer support kind of thing. And I think right now we're all experiencing something that we've never experienced. It's devastated so many people's lives in so many different ways. So I think it's really important of that support for each other. Right now, there's been a few forums that they're on Facebook that have been really useful. A lot of different arts organizations are sharing resources, everything from grants that are available to different things that have been helpful for different creatives. So if you're not following, it's Arts Network Ottawa COVID-19. If you look up that on Facebook, or you can message me, I can find it, but it's something like Arts Community Ottawa, something like that. And there's tons of resources being shared on there, and I share some on there too. I think this is just really amazing, seeing all the different people in the community find different ways to listen to each other, provide guidance, support. Mischa, you brought up a great note. Steve Foley, so he's the vice chair of OMIC, and he has so many microphones in his studio that are available. And as everyone switches over to live streaming, we're seeing at OMIC how we can package up all those resources to help, like help everything from improving the quality to some general coaching. And we're going to be announcing something shortly that ties into live streaming. But there's so many things there as we adapt to this. This is the new normal in a sense. This might be an element that stays even after quarantine's done, is that live streaming engagement element. So if you're not connected to him, connect with Steve Foley. He has a ton of resources and some technology that if you don't have it, it might be helpful for live streaming performances. Thank you for taking part.
Yeah, everybody, I just wanted to say thank you to everyone who's tuned in. All the panelists, you guys were amazing. A lot of great and useful information there. And I think it's super important that we as an arts community get together in platforms like these and just, you know, help each other out in these times. So I think this was amazing. Thank you guys.
All right. Bless up, everyone. Thank you.